There are games where you have nothing. You only have your journey and the emotions you experience. There are games where you have a few things, essential instruments or trusty weapons. And then there are games where you
I got too much stuff. I got way more shoes than it's possible to use. I got too much stuff.
Sometimes it looks like playing such games may provoke the development of a hoarding disorder. Is it true that inventory in some games was designed in a special department of hell?
Of a miserable eternity.
It sure feels like that sometimes. So let's talk about organizing stuff.
Don't you dare stop.
Hi, I'm Not-a-witchr. I don't have nearly that much stuff as they tend to have in their saddlebags, but I do have some stuff, and I need all of it.
As we begin to explore hoarding in video games, we must look decades back to the time when, as they keep telling us, life was simpler and video games were made of pixels. Wait, aren't they all? How do you think the idea of having an inventory came to the video games? I believe it came from tabletop games, where the players had to imagine that they have some items and write them down on a list of paper. Tabletop RPGs still have this mechanic even today.
Two dark elf heads, one random arm, a piece of bullet armor.
Shit has been festering for months.
Yeah, man. 12 beef jerky strips are going.
I was saving that.
Early CRPGs, back then you had to add the word computer before the RPG acronym, because RPG meant of course a tabletop game, and the most commonly known was Dungeons and Dragons. D&D is a game based on the imagination of a group of people playing it, and the inventory of D&D players is limited to what their dungeon master thinks they can carry without being encumbered.
Wait! The loot! Damn it!
Why is it in coins? Seems unnecessarily confusing. So, weight affect movement and... what was I saying? You probably know that the early CRPGs were text-based. Well, in those games you just typed inventory to see what you currently have. Another genre that is relevant to our topic is adventure games. Fun fact, the first adventure game was made in 1976. It was called Colossal Cave Adventures, and yes, it was also text-based. But the games you would probably consider adventures as a separate genre emerged in the 90s. Sometimes they are called point-and-click adventures, and they had interface elements for your inventory, items that you could carry and needed to solve puzzles. But those items were few, and there was no hoarding of any kind. Yeah, all those RPGs and adventure games were probably considered extremely nerdy. Of course, games for more mainstream audience sometimes also had items that the player has with them, but it's mostly ammunition and different weapons. Basically, shooters and also maybe arcade platformers are the least hoarding-friendly genres. I'm not including racing games, because in those games you can have all available cars, but actually ride on one or two of them. That's hoarding.
So different games have different categories of items, and not all of them could even be hoarded. But I'm not trying to determine what's the best inventory system here. The most important question of this video is, what games are the most hoarding friendly?
It's actually not that simple to answer, since many genres started including RPG elements and crafting systems in their gameplay, and the definition of RPG is stretching. Action RPGs is a genre where you arguably do much more action than role-playing, and these games have a lot of hoarding potential. If a game has resources, some players will be distracted from their current task and compelled to gather them, even if it means hitting the iron ore formations with the most intuitively suitable instrument for that purpose, a sharp blade of your axe. I don't know about you, but my first playthrough of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was mostly like this: arrive at a village, go into each hut and search each container for loot. Empty bottle, I will probably make a potion and fill it. A ladle, I will probably taste the potion to know it's ready. And these peasants have too many dwarven spirits in their cupboards. I have to banish all these spirits. I am a witcher after all. Ooh, an old goat hide. In Ghost of Tsushima, I play as a samurai and a nephew of the local lord. And of course, not a one peasant says anything when I come to their homes and take every little pack of supplies, which is mostly rice anyway, probably. But in the world of The Witcher, I'm quite baffled by the nonchalant peasants that don't give me a second glance when I ransack their homes looking for ladles. But look at all this stuff that Geralt has in his capacious, though still limited, saddlebags. I mean, Roach's saddlebags. Or are they technically his? Werewolf saliva, vampire saliva, monster saliva? How disappointingly unspecific. Don't tell me that Geralt, with his experience, cannot tell the specific kind and maybe age of a monster just by the taste of okay, stop my imagination. But those saddlebags must have a really unmistakable smell. No wonder people don't like witchers. I'm sorry, Roach and other gaming horses, but the best mount for a hoarder is a camel. It even has a shape similar to a hoard of loot. And Bayakov Siva has every opportunity to be a hoarder. Just look at his inventory. Does this inventory have a limit? No, it does not. I need all these materials. It is essential. And this, whatever that is, don't tell me the game calls it unnecessary items. That's so disrespectful to the ancient culture of Egypt. I hate it when some games give you loot in a form of many different items with only one purpose, to be sold to a vendor for a little coin, and then call those items junk. Do you know how much writing goes into those objects? Isn't it more realistic when you don't clearly know what you will need later in the game and what you won't? Yes, this is much more realistic from a hoarder's perspective. Look at this item. Are you sure you wouldn't need one of these? How about this one? Better have this one with me all the time just in case. Baldur's Gate 3 is a real pinnacle of classic RPGs, which I consider the true breeding ground of gaming hoarders like myself. Early 2000s gave us Fallout and Baldur's Gate games. Especially Fallout, there is so much stuff in the first two games that exists only to be a part of the world, not for the player to use, but for the atmosphere. And on your first playthrough, you cannot tell what is useful and what is trash. Because it's post-apocalypse. Everything is trash, nothing is trash. Unfortunately, your inventory is limited by your strengths, and even having a car helps you only so far, because the trunk is not bottomless. But the urge to collect stuff is so strong, and it's constantly fueled by many quests and game situations, which can be solved only by having a specific item. Baldur's Gate is even more restrictive. You have both weight limit and space limit. Each of your characters has only 16 slots, and you never know which potion or scroll will be crucial for your survival in combat. So it's quite hard for an aspiring hoarder, and weaker minds learn fast to prioritize valuable items and sell everything else. Sometimes they even leave the cheapest loot on the ground. Again, loot in RPGs is not just money if you sell it, but also different instruments that could be used in a specific situation by a specific character for a specific result. And so we end up finishing the game and never using them, like those whiskey bottles in all the old jokes about the stingy folk. I mean dwarves. Managing the inventory in a true RPG is a skill that takes practice and dedication, and patience. And one of the things that stretches our patience thin is bad menus in games. Remember Elder Scrolls games starting Oblivion? When your inventory suddenly became a grocery list on a parchment, or a menu in a medieval-themed restaurant. Did you ever play Oblivion as an alchemist with hundreds of different potions that you had to scroll through to find the right one? That is a good choice, sir. At least it is done in pause, so all the enemies have to wait while I sate my thirst and heal my wounds several times per battle. and you have 3 drinks limit. Skyrim is no better, except that you can see each item in 3D, but Elder Scrolls Online, it's a whole new level of bad menus. Try and find the item you're looking for when you have your inventory full. How many presses of a button is that? It's mainly a problem on consoles, or if you're a weirdo like me playing on a PC with a controller so my body can take the shape of whatever I'm sitting on when playing. But eventually we come to the idea that MMORPGs are the real hallowed land of hoarding. Only in these games you can find hoarders that have been building their hoards for years, sometimes decades. Many MMOs even have the option to pay real-life money for additional storage space for your items or the bottomless crafting bags. So being a hoarder is not a free hobby anymore. Now it's a lifestyle you have to uphold. Many games of the last decade or so include cosmetic items that can confuse an honest hoarder. Is it a thing that your character has and can wear, or is it just an illusion to change the appearance as fickle as the tides of fashion? So my tank in the heavy armor can look like this. They even put those cosmetics in single-player games, not just MMOs. Remember the horse armor of Oblivion? If not the first, then definitely the most known case of a paid cosmetics in an offline game. And now online games regularly create new fancy stuff for the players to have, sucking you in more and more. I would argue that it's not quite the type of hoarding I'm talking about in this video, and more like a modern consumerism thing. Good old hoarding is about having more and more stuff in the vault of your game account. Of course, many of the MMO players have fun exactly from that, having a lot of stuff to feel themselves like Smaug in his lair, and not like Gollum with only one precious in the pocket of his... Does he even have pockets? Please tell me he kept the one ring in a pocket. Deep pockets of MMO players sometimes lead to unusual occurrings, like the infamous long con heists in EVE Online, or even the real-life-like economical phenomena in video games. But that is a topic for another time.
And for now, let's just agree that we play what we like and how we like, and no one should make fun of our gaming choices as long as we have fun gathering all that stuff. Seriously, we need all of it. So, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. I'm still Not-a-witchr, and as always, take care and farewell.
I got too much stuff. I got way more shoes than it's possible to use. I got too much stuff. I've got a myriad of devices and way too many vices. I've got no recollection of ever starting this collection, and I guess my innate curiosity combined with sheer fastidiosity reached escape velocity, determining my ultimate direction. Upon reflection, I can't ignore my obvious predilection for too much stuff.